Welcome to Weaseljaw Digital, and welcome to the next step in our build videos. Today we're going to be taking a look at the RZ-1A Wing interceptor for the Rebels, for the New Republic. Canon-wise, not one of my favorite ships, but actually one of my favorite ships in this game. I really love how it handles and how it can play. It's really great glass cannon style ship, which also is not typically kind of build I would be playing. But it's a very effective fighter, and I wanted to lay out a couple builds along with some alternatives to them, some slight tweaks and changes to them that can kind of turn them into slightly different combat vehicles. But again, this A-Wing is more of a glass cannon. It doesn't have a lot of health, but it's quick and it can do a lot of damage. If someone lines you up to shoot at you, you're pretty much dead. So you got to be aware of that. So the first build we're going to be looking at today is what I call my knife fighter build. It is a build that is designed to get in close and go toe-to-toe with enemy ships. It's not one that's going to be attacking from far away. It's short range, highly maneuverable. It's meant to get into a dogfight situation and stay there. And it really is built for dogfighting. It's not very good in fleet battles due to the lower speed. It makes it a little too vulnerable against capital ships. So, to look at this build, the A-Wing's got 4 different weapon choices. We're going to be going with the rapid fire cannon. It has a DPS of 666.7 DPS, which is great. It's got a very low ammo capacity though. And you are going to struggle to kill some of the stronger things on the Imperial side. TIE bombers, for instance, it's going to take a lot of ammo. If someone has upped the health of their TIE fighter, that's going to be a tough one to take down. But in most cases, if your aim is halfway decent, you're going to be able to tear apart anything they have really quickly. Defenders go down fairly quickly. Interceptors drop real fast. Most TIE fighters go down quick. And their TIE Striker thing, their support ship, goes down fairly easily. Bombers are the thing you're really going to struggle the most against. For our auxiliary, we're going to be using our repair. It's important that you recover with this ship. It is so soft. It's got very little health. It's got very little shield, so you do need a repair kit to keep you going. For our right auxiliary, we're going to go with our quick lock missiles. This is kind of an oddball choice for the missile systems. It's about the only, I think just the interceptors have this missile. These quick lock missiles don't do much damage, 375 damage, but they lock on fast at 1.3 seconds. They have a fast cooldown at 4 seconds, and you can carry a fair amount of them at 8. And they have strong homing, which means it's very hard to lose these. They travel fast, they hit fast, they turn sharp corners. They're really good to augment your limited ammunition. So it really helps finish off those higher health targets. Also good for when something's speeding away from you. You're not going to be able to chase it down. It's getting close to that max range for your cannons. Lock on that missile, fire that missile, hopefully finish them off with that. For countermeasures, the best countermeasures, almost all situations, are always going to be those seeker warheads. You're going to want to go with those almost all the time. For a hull, we're going with our dampener hull. That again increases hostile lock time for secondary weapons and only lowers your health a little bit. We don't have a lot of health anyway, so losing 10% of that isn't a big deal. The other hull choices on this ship are actually pretty bad. So that's really our go-to. Similar problem with shields. There really aren't a lot of great shield options on this ship, so we're going to stick with our regular deflectors for this build. And we're going to go with our micro thrust engine so we can get that high maneuverability. And what you see here is our hull is knocked down to 450, but that's only from a 500. Max shield stays at 500. Max speed is lowered. Max acceleration is lowered. That's to get that increase in maneuverability. This thing can turn on a dime at half speed. It can actually turn faster than other ships are going to be able to do their little burst speed turns. It's really effective at keeping enemies lined up for your fire to shoot them down. It's really effective at losing people, at losing missiles. That high maneuverability lets you do a lot of really quick, sharp turns. If you get into one of those tail chasing incidents where you got two people that are kind of circling around each other, you're going to be able to cut that corner closer than anything else. So that high maneuverability is really where this kicks in. I should say there is a build in the X-Wings that can get higher maneuverability, but it's very minimal and most people don't fly that. So this is that in close knife fighter build. It's a really fun build, really effective at just knocking things out if you get them lined up. Now there are a few alternatives to this knife fighter build, some slight tweaks that we can make, some slight changes. One of them is the main cannon. We can change that over to this plasburst laser cannon.
You're gonna like that.
This is what I kind of call the sniper build for this. DPS goes way up. This thing hits like a truck. You do have to charge it up. The projectile travels very fast, though. Has a short range of 600 meters. Does a lot of damage. It can knock out interceptors in one shot. Problem is, while you're charging, your primary damage and secondary damage you take is increased by 50%. That's very dangerous in a ship that has almost no health to begin with. So if you're doing this, you have to make sure no one is on your tail while you're charging those shots. Otherwise, you are going to be in trouble. Another alternative that you can do is the mine. Instead of that missile dropping the seeker mine in here, this thing does a ton of damage too. 900 damage, lifespan of 10 seconds, cooldown of 9 seconds, so you can actually have 2 mines out at the same time. Ammo capacity is 6, so you can drop a lot of mines. In that knife fighter build, when you're going to be in close on targets anyways, that mine is really effective. It keeps people off your tail, and if someone's doing that little, tail chasing routine with you, you're going to be dropping that mine, they're going to be going right by it. The strong homing capacity on those mines is very similar to your very fast quick-fire missiles here. So it's an all-around great tool. Really useful, especially in debris fields. You go around a tight corner with someone on your tail, you can drop that mine. When they come around that corner, they're not going to have time to react to it. It's going to hit them. So that mine is a great option also. Another fun option, and you can swap either of these for it, is the targeting jammer. Targeting jammer does have a long cooldown of 30 seconds, and it only lasts for 5 seconds. But the targeting jammer, especially on a high maneuverable ship, is really, really frustrating. What happens is you drop off radar. They can't target you, which means they can't get missile locks. They can't see you on the radar, which means they can't tell where you went. And it's harder for them to judge accurately how to lead your ship. So this is a great thing to use. You're in there, you're commanding the fight. You're the one in control of the situation. But someone locks onto you, you hear that targeting alert, or you start taking shots. You hit this jammer, you veer off in a different direction, and for 5 seconds, you're pretty much going to be immune. They're not going to be able to deal with you. You can then reassess the battle in that 5 seconds. Do you go after the new guy that's targeting you? Do you reassess and go back after the guy you were targeting earlier and finish him off? Or do you just bug the heck out of there and regroup in a safer location? That stealth build is really, really powerful. It's a very strong defensive capability, and it will keep you alive. If you don't feel that you get a lot of use out of those missiles or the mines, that targeting jammer is a great, great option. So next up is something that I call the Jouster. It's typically only going to be used in dogfights on one specific match is where I've used this. It can, with a little bit of alteration, be effective in a role in fleet battles. So I will go into that too. This build is used for jousting one-on-one, specifically in Yavin. Yavin is a really interesting place where at the start of the match, you guys start, the two enemy teams start just outside of weapons range, can very quickly close to weapons range, and a lot of players, especially newer players, will just go head on. That's a dangerous thing to do. It's not what I would advise for people to do, but this is an interesting build if you're seeing it happen a lot to take advantage of that situation. You go with the standard laser cannon. The reason we do that is the longer range. You can start doing damage at 1,000 meters instead of having to wait until you're closer. Left auxiliary, we're going with our ion rockets. That's going to cut out any shields, possibly disable some enemy craft. Right auxiliary is rockets. So we're going to get a lot of firepower downrange as fast as possible. We're not waiting for lock-ons. These are all dumb fire weapons. They're just shooting straight ahead. Countermeasures, we're going to go with Seeker Warheads. We're going to be going head-on with this build more often than not. So it's something where you're not going to need, chafe or anything else like that. You're going to go with the dampener hull to make sure they don't get a lock on you, and there really aren't any of the good hull choices. Our shields, we're going to go with the overloaded shields. Now, this is going to hurt our regeneration here. And if you totally lose your shields, you're not going to regen them back anymore. But you start overcharged for that initial action in Yavin. Having those shields already boosted helps you a lot. It then reduces primary and auxiliary damage taken. So you're going to survive that first combat. And I do go with the micro thrust engine. Again, I like that maneuverability. Once we get past that initial exchange or that initial joust, this gives you the ability to be able to maneuver and actually fight quite well in Yavin. This is an okay build. I mean, if you're really stuck on using the A-Wing, what happens a lot in Yavin is whichever team wins the initial exchange controls the center of Yavin. And then everything else spawns out on the edges and has to come in. So whoever gains that first initial exchange on Yavin typically gains a match-long advantage. You have to overcome that. And there are better builds for that. But again, this jousting build's not too bad. You have the overloaded shields. You have lots of forward-firing weapons. And a lot of times people are going to be coming at you in a joust formation. They're going to be just charging head-on at you. So this can help crack into that kind of defensive group. You never want to go alone, especially with this A-Wing. You want to make sure they have some other target they can shoot at, kind of ride its wake, and then peek out when you get to that 1,000-meter range and fire everything you got at them. Hopefully shutting them down, doing damage, hopefully killing them. It's not my all-time favorite. It's not something I would use if I have control of the center. But for that initial exchange and for breaking those kind of holds, it's not a bad ship for that. It's kind of quirky, though. Now, the one change where you can use it for a fleet battle is throwing on the thrust engine. By throwing the thrust engine on here, you increase your speed while lowering your acceleration and maneuverability. Makes it a much faster ship. This is used specifically in fleet battles for making attack runs on the enemy capital ship when your ships are close. So you get to that end game where it's capital ship versus capital ship. All of the supporting ships, the light cruisers, the frigates, they're all down. And you're just hammering the other capital ships. This is a good, fast ship. Sorry. For getting across the field quickly with that high speed. just making sweeping attack runs. You have the ion weaponry if their shields are up. You have the rockets if the shields are down. You have the long range attack from the cannons. Your high speed will help keep you safer from the weapons of the capital ship. I'll use it to make those runs when our morale's getting low, and I don't think it's going to hold out long enough for me to bring in one of my slower bomber type ships. This allows me to just swoop in, get some good quick hammering damage on target before we lose that morale and the side switches again.
Coming right up.
Keep exiting out for no reason.
Tell me what you need.
So that's how you can change this up, make it more of a bomber for the Star Destroyer. Next up, we're going to talk about a build that I call the Strafer. This is really good for dogfights. It's certainly an appropriate ship for fleet battles too. One change you can make here. We'll talk about those in a second. We'll talk about the default build that I have here. And that is our rapid fire cannons for that high DPS. You got to get in close for them. We're going to go with our repair kit, keep ourselves in the play, and we're going to go with the cluster missiles. Cluster missiles are interesting. They're going to lock on one single target, but up to 4 missiles. Each missile can do 450 damage, which gives you a total damage potential of 1,800 damage, which is a lot. Almost 2,000 damage from this. Their medium homing lock is required. Kind of a long cooldown at 12 seconds. Lock on time is 0.8 seconds per missile, so that's a really fast lock on time. You can get 2 of them in 1.6 seconds. You're looking at a little over 3 seconds to get all 4 of them locked, but the way you're playing this build, that's perfectly acceptable. Countermeasures, we're going to go with our Seeker warheads. Dampener hull, because there aren't great choices. Standard deflectors, because again, not great choices. And we're going to go with our standard engine on this. Now, the purpose of this build in either the dogfight or fleet battles is you're going to be staying out towards the edge of the battle. You're not going to be in the heat of things. This isn't the knife fighter where you're going to be right in the middle looking for one target after the next. This target is going to be strafing the battlefield. So you're going to be coming in from the side. You're going to pick out a target early. You're going to start following him. Get that lock on with your cluster missiles. Once you get a few of those locks on, you get into range of that rapid fire cannon, you're going to open up with all of that. It's going to have multiple missiles going at him. You're going to have your rapid fire cannon. You're going to hit, strike fast, do that damage, then get the heck out of there. You're not going to be hanging around. You're going to hit, do the damage, and fly off. Get secured. Go around some debris. Know what your situation is. Make sure no one's following you. Then you're going to turn back. You're going to find a new target. You're going to swoop in, and you're going to hit that target. You're going to be strafing the battlefield looking for those player ships that you can just destroy. Now, some of the changes you can make here. If you really want to increase the amount of damage you can do, you can swap your repair kit for your quick lock missiles. That's going to increase the amount of damage you're going to be able to output. You're going to add 1 more missile. You could have up to 5 missiles locked and firing at a target. One's going to have strong homing. Up to 4 are going to have that medium homing. It's just a really nice way to increase that damage a little bit more. You can switch out for like the laser cannon to get that longer range, but I prefer the higher damage and I prefer the later strike. I want to get in closer before I unleash my attack. The Plasburst laser cannon, again, you're kind of coming in surprise style, so that's not a bad option either. I just don't like the extra damage and the fact that you're resting everything in that one charge shot. If you miss with that, you're already hurting yourself, where you can adjust a little bit more with the rapid fire cannon. Another interesting thing to do with this one is swapping out for the targeting jammer. This allows you to stay hidden either on an approach if you're going into a crowded area, or use it after you hit. You swoop in, you do your damage, then you pop that targeting jammer and get out. It's got a 30-second cooldown, but chances are you're going to be flying off to the edge of battle, recharging your shields, reassessing. You got to wait for your weapons to reset anyways because you got that long cooldown on your cluster missiles. It allows you to kind of reset, recharge your engines, your shields, and then make that next attack run. After you strike at your target and knock them out, you hit the targeting jammer, bug out again. This Strafer build is one of the most annoying things I face when I'm playing my interceptors. Because this thing can target me, can come in, knock me out before I have a chance to react to it, and then it's gone. If for some reason I'm able to ditch it quickly, it already takes off. It knows these pilots will come in, they'll strike at you. Kill or not, they're bugging out. By the time I'm able to react to that, find him, he's already 700 meters away and moving away quickly. And there's not going to be anything I can do about it. So these guys are really annoying, very effective. People using that kind of build and that kind of strategy can rack up some huge kill counts and can do it while keeping themselves very safe, not giving up many kills to the enemy. Next up, I like to do a shield breaker build for all of the different ships. I feel it's a good option to have. Taking out those shields on those capital ships, on those light cruisers, on the Star Destroyer, is a very helpful thing to do. This probably isn't the best shield breaker to use. Your Y-Wing's got a great shield breaker. Your X-Wing's got a really great shield breaker. The bombers and the other fighters can do better at this. But you can build a shield breaker here. Of course, we're going to go with our ion cannon that does 1,680 damage per second. We're just going to strip a lot of shields. We're going to go with our targeting jammer, and that's just for survivability against those capital ships. A-Wing is very soft, cannot take many hits. Those capital ships can really chew you up. That targeting jammer will make it harder for the capital ships to react to you, and will keep you safe from players also if you start taking any heat there. We're of course going to go with our ion rockets. 300 damage per rocket. We have 30 of those. They are dumbfire. Countermeasures, we're going to be using seeker warheads. Good chance we're going to be taking missiles from the front from those capital ships, so having the seeker warhead's good. For hull, we're going to go with our dampener hull. That's going to reduce incoming, or it's going to increase, the lock time from missiles, hopefully reducing the amount of missiles we take. Standard shields again. And we're going to go with our thrust engine. The speed will help keep us safe from capital ship weapons. It'll make it so it's easy to do nice passes around these ships. You're probably going to have to use, boost to do your boost turns, your drift turns, instead of regular maneuverability. However, even with that, you're still sitting at a 56, which is better than a B-Wing for maneuverability. Our max hull is reduced a little bit to 450. Speed is increased. Acceleration, maneuverability drop a bit. You're not dogfighting with this thing. This thing's built to go after capital ships, which are basically sitting still. It's, again, not the most effective way to break shields, not something I would recommend, but if you really like flying the A-Wing, it gives you a shield break option that is pretty quick, can get out there, can do its business, and stay relatively safe while doing it.
You're looking for a custom job.
Last up is what I call the Wild Weasel. This one takes a very strange play style. It is directly for dogfighting. You're not going to want to use this in fleet battles much. It's an oddball. We're going to go with our rapid fire cannon on this. We're going to be getting in close. We're going to be doing high DPS. Our left auxiliary, we're going to be going with our seeker mine. You're going to be making passes on people. You're going to be getting in close, knife fighting kind of stuff. Dropping those mines will create massive problems, get you some kills, let you do some damage. Targeting jammer we are going to use for our right auxiliary. This allows us, anytime someone has a lock on us or is targeting us, we can use that and then use our our interesting flight style to turn the table on them. For countermeasures, we're going to switch this up. We're going to use the sensor inverter. This causes missiles to fly back at their targets. You're going to be in close a lot of times, and we're going for a high DPS output on this, so that sensor inverter can turn those missiles back at the target. Hopefully, in conjunction with a seeker mine, even if they have countermeasures, they'll have already used them, either against our mines or against this sensor inverted missile, and then our mine or the missile will be able to get in past their defenses. For hull, we're still going to use the dampener hull. It's still worthwhile to use that. If a missile does get by, we're going to send it back at the guy that's shooting at us. For shields, we're going to use our standard deflector because there just really isn't anything good. And for engines, we're going to mix this up. We're going to use our propulsion engines, which increases our acceleration by 100% while lowering our maneuverability a little bit. What this creates is a very interesting build. Our max hull is 450, so not a big change there. Kind of what we're doing for everything. Max shields is 500. Max speed is left at 160. Our maneuverability is lowered a little bit to 72, but that's still pretty high. We're still a very maneuverable craft. But our max acceleration is jacked up to 392. That is an exceedingly high max acceleration of 392, which allows you to stop and go on a dime. It is ridiculously how fast you can change speed in this thing. And what's interesting is that kind of super fast acceleration change actually makes up for your loss of maneuverability. Because you're more maneuverable at half speed, you can go from full speed to half speed and make that maneuver way quicker than other ships that are going from full speed to half speed to get to their max maneuverability. So that curve actually kind of works in your favor here due to that acceleration. You can crank this thing down to 0 and turn while you're lowering your speed, and then crank it back up to full speed right afterwards. It's like a 1 second you're down to 0, 1 second you're back up to full speed, and you've made a 90-degree turn there. And that's how you're going to be flying this thing. I can tell you, one of the things I love seeing from rookie players is when they just stop out there ahead of me, and they just stop and they reposition where they want to be shooting or something. Stopping in the battlefield's bad. So most people stay away from this kind of flight pattern. But in this case, because you can decelerate and then quickly re-accelerate, you're not stopping and becoming a very easy target. You slow way down, so someone chasing you is now going to like ram into you or get very close to you. Then you change your angle a little bit while you're slowing down, and then you speed off in another direction. So it creates this really weird pattern of flight that is hard for even experienced players to target. Having those mines means you can drop those. You can fly off in that other direction, drop that mine, and as they correct their arc flight towards you, they're going to run right into that mine. It's a fun build to play. It's an interesting build to play. It's really annoying when I see someone that's built for really quick deceleration and acceleration, because I'm not used to targeting that. So due to how unique this build is and how infrequently you see something like this, it can really throw off players of all skill levels. It's something that's really fun to play and try out. I would suggest you give it a shot just to try it, because it is goofy, but it is fun. So that's that Wild Weasel build. So again, we have our knife fighter build for dog fights. Get in close, exchange fire, glass cannon kind of thing. Keep moving, keep targeting people, keep hitting them fast. Bug out if you're taking too much heat. Again, you can throw on the plas burst. You can throw on that targeting jammer. You can swap out for the mine instead of the missile. A lot of flexibility in how you can fly this knife fighter. We have our goofy Jouster for Yavin, or for making quick bombing runs when our morale is running low and we don't have time to get our slower ships over there. We have our Strafer, which looks pretty standard build, but due to the cluster missiles, makes it a very effective fighter to just kind of sneak in, pounce on a target, blow it up, and get the heck out. We, of course, have our shield breaker. Not the best shield breaker, but it is something that can be used. And then we have the Wild Weasel, the really kind of crazy crackpot, stop-and-go fighter that's going to be veering off at different directions and different speeds and really throwing people for a loop in combat. And that, again, is going to be for dogfighting only. So with that, I hope you have some fun builds to use for your A-Wing here. I hope to see you in battle. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.